What's up everybody, Ramey here, and today we're talking about is the Bells of Steel wrist roller. This is $40 on Bells of Steel website. I picked this up on Black Friday for maybe like, I don't know, they had it on sale for 15% off or something like that. Picked it up because I was looking for a wrist roller. I did have a wrist roller that I was using before this, but I picked this one up specifically to connect to my rack. Now, when you go on Bell's website and look at this wrist roller, it comes with some rack attachments. You have to pay more for them, but it does come with them. The issue with those attachments is, first of all, there's only two options. One is 2 by 2.3 by 2.3 for some of their racks, which are that size. And the other one is 3 by 3 and for 5/8 holes. I have 1-inch holes on my rack, so neither of those options were gonna work. But what I did is I thought to myself, you know what, I bet I can kind of do it yourself, create some kind of wrist roller. Now I do have another wrist roller, but it's one that's just literally like, it's not connected to my rack. It's just one that you use with your hands kind of like down here, like this. And I really don't like it because I'm always holding the weight up. Like I'm usually doing this at the end of my workout. I'm holding that weight up with my arms or shoulders or back, and I'm always tired. And it's just like another thing, like I'm picking it up and doing it. I really wanted one that was supported by my rack. So I thought I could kind of do it yourself something with this. The reason people even care about wrist rollers at all, or wrist curls in general, because you can just do wrist curls on your bench. I just really like a roller for a few different reasons. But the reason you do these wrist curls is A, you work your forearms. People care about getting big. They want bigger forearm muscles. But B, what it really does is it helps prevent those of you who do bicep curls or pull-ups or any exercise where your wrists and elbows are hurting. Generally, the reason your elbows and wrists are hurting is from tendonitis, and it's because we aren't working our wrists enough. So we do wrist curls front and back to help work those, not only those muscles, but strengthen those tendons in there to help prevent that tendonitis. If you go to a physical therapist for elbow tendonitis, one of the things they're gonna have you do is the wrist curls. So I usually do these as a preventative measure. I've had both wrist and elbow problems since I was like 17 years old. I just always did for any kind of back or bicep exercise. So these help significantly. So what I wanted is I really personally like a wrist curl that's on a rack that I can just work. This works my wrist great. I can do forward or back, the reverse, or either way. I wanted something on the rack so the weight was supported. So what I did is I reached out to Bells of Steel and I asked them, A, what size hole is inside this wrist curl? They told me it was 1 inch, and I said, okay, you know what? I bet what I can do, and I'll show you real quick, is I can put a pin, safety pin, slide it right on to kind of do it yourself, my own rack attachment. And that's exactly what I've done. Now let me talk about the wrist curl. Let me talk about this movement. So the wrist curl in general, so first of all, it's pretty fat. So this is fat. This feels like me grabbing an axle bar. So when you're thinking about like the size, it's almost like grabbing a sleeve. This is a very thick, pretty beefy attachment. We can say like there's no knurl on it. So we got no knurl, it's just smooth. It feels exactly like an axle bar, basically. You can see the hole in here, and then this little rope is connected so that you can wind. I don't really care about the finish or welds or anything like that. It's a wrist curl. So like, I'm not too concerned about that, but the welds are just fine. The finish, it feels exactly like an axle bar. So think about that. It's axle bar feel. But it slides right on. You can put weight on very easily by literally just looping it through and connecting it. And all of a sudden you have, whatever weight you want to use. And since it is on the bar, I don't have to support that weight. can do the reverse. And I've pretty much been doing this at the end of every workout now. I love it. So, one thing I want to tell you. So I did email Bells of Steel when I was buying this to ask them the size of the pin that would go inside here. I did email, it was like over Black Friday. They did email me pretty quick in like a day or two. I might have emailed them on a weekend and they emailed me in a month. It was pretty quick. It was pretty quick return time from their customer service. The guy was like, hey, this is a really good question. I don't know if anybody's asked it before, but what you're trying to do sounds really interesting. The pin is about 1 inch. That's the size of our pin. So I said, okay, I think I can do it yourself something. I figured worst case scenario is I could use a 5/8 inch pin to roll this if I needed to. But when I got it, I tested my pins. Now I have 2 different size safety pins. I have Rogues. Pull up. Rogue safety pins are exactly 1 inch. All right. Now I also have Reps safety pins. Rep safety pins are just under 1 inch because Rep uses metric systems. So when I stick my Rogue safety pins in my rack, they're pretty tight. My Rep safety pins have a little give because they're slightly under 1 inch. So that actually worked out really well here. My Rogue safety pins, when I stuck this on, it was too tight. It did not work. I could not use this with my Rogue safety pins. I would have had to buy some 5/8 inch pins if I was going to use it with Rogue stuff. It just wouldn't have worked because of the difference in size. When I put it on my Rep pins, perfectly. It works. It works absolutely flawless, works perfectly. Yeah, and I have a great wrist roller. So, do I like this? I really, 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 really like it. For 40 bucks, I have a wrist roller that's rack attached, basically. I mean, assuming you have the pins. For those of you that don't have like metric size pins that are gonna be a little smaller and fit this, you would just have, like if you have a Rogue rack, you would just have to use 5/8 inch pins, which you can buy for really cheap from Amazon, Titan, or Rep. Their 5/8 inch pins are super cheap and they would work. And it works just fine. You could even probably use like a long, if you get a band peg long enough to fit this. I guess there really isn't a band peg that long, but safety pin works. I use my safety pins for so many do-it-yourself things, and this just happens to be one of them. So do I like this? Would I buy this? 100% I like it. It's better than the ones that are not rack attached, and obviously you can use this one non-rack attached. You know, I can use it just like this. It's just, I really, really hate this exercise right here. Not being rack attached just really kind of sucks, to be honest. So I'm a big, big, big fan of these just being attached to a rack. So that's the Bells of Steel wrist roller. As I said, if you have a 3x3 5/8 inch rack, you can just buy the connection attachment, but if you don't want to spend the extra money and already have pins, it literally just works like this. I think it's a really good, inexpensive, rack attached wrist roller that does the job, helps those people who want to A, build their forearms, or B, help with tendonitis and injury prevention. I really like it. I think I have no complaints. Only thing I could possibly improve on it, if I was going to improve anything, I'd probably make it a little thinner. It's really thick, you know, it's the size of an axle bar. I understand why they did that, but they probably already have the size piping. It's less expensive to manufacture, which is why it's only $40. Some Neuro on here would be kind of cool, but totally not needed. Just would be cool. That also might increase the price. I'm not sure it'd really be worth paying more for what it is to have Neuro or have it be thinner. So as it is, it's a pretty good, solid piece of equipment to buy that's super inexpensive. Obviously super easy to store because it's literally just a small little 1 foot pipe. So super easy to store. I think it's a good piece by Bells because I don't know that any other companies really make these. There are a few out there that are super expensive that are rack attached, and obviously I didn't buy the rack attachment, but I did more of a do-it-yourself option. But I think this is way better than those cheap Amazon ones that have like a pin that you have to stand and hold. I think this is 100 times better having it attached to my rack. So that's my review of the Bells of Steel wrist roller. Later, everybody.